Whoever abandoned that campsite was still close enough to hear me breathing. I realized at the moment the coffee pot beside the fire started bubbling again, because the flames underneath it were dead. No heat, no wood cracking, nothing. And then my radio whispered my name from somewhere deeper in the trees. My name's Caleb Nurser. I was 31, working night patrol at Bitter Pines National Forest in northern Wyoming. Most people think park rangers spend nights rescuing hikers or chasing bears away from campsites. In reality, most shifts are painfully quiet. Locked gates, empty roads, routine patrol logs, hours of staring at dark trees through a windshield. That night felt wrong from the beginning. Rain had rolled through earlier, leaving the forest soaked and cold. Fog drifted low across the trails while the pine trees creaked softly in the wind. Around 12:40 a.m., dispatch radioed me about possible illegal campers somewhere beyond Trail 9. A hiker had reported smoke deep in a restricted section of the forest where nobody was allowed after dark. Normally, I'd just issue a warning and escort them out. But the closer I got, the stranger things became. The trail leading into Sector C looked freshly disturbed. Muddy footprints everywhere. Not hiking boots either. Bare feet, adult-sized, even in the waterline. Despair feet, adult-sized. I remember standing there with my flashlight aimed at the ground, trying to convince myself I was seeing it wrong. Because the footprints only went deeper into the woods, none came back out. That's when I noticed something worse. The forest had gone completely silent. No insects, no wind, no distant animal sounds. Just the faint crackle of something burning somewhere ahead. I followed the sound for maybe 10 minutes, through thick trees and wet brush, until I saw the glow. A campsite hidden between massive pine trunks. One tent, one folding chair, a lantern hanging from a branch above the fire pit, and food still cooking. A metal pan sat over weak orange embers with bacon and beans sizzling quietly inside. Steam rose into the freezing air. Beside it sat a half-full coffee mug, still warm when I touched it, but nobody was there. I called out immediately, "Park ranger, anyone here?" Nothing answered except the wind moving through branches overhead. The whole place felt abandoned mid-conversation. Sleeping bag open, backpack half-sipped, flashlight resting near the chair. Whoever left had vanished seconds earlier. Then it happened again. A twig snapped somewhere behind me. I spun around fast enough to nearly drop my flashlight. The beam cut through rows of trees and drifting fog, but I couldn't see anyone. My radio crackled softly against my shoulder. Static, then silence again. I should have called for backup right there. But illegal campers sometimes run when they hear rangers approaching. I figured someone was hiding nearby waiting for me to leave, so I started checking the campsite carefully. That's when I realized something else felt off. There were no personal items anywhere. No ID, no phones, no cooler labels, nothing with a name on it. Even the food packaging had labels peeled off. Like someone intentionally removed every trace of identity before camping there. Then my flashlight landed on the tent. The zipper was moving slightly, not opening, just twitching softly, like someone inside kept touching it. My throat tightened instantly. I stepped closer and called out again. "Hey, you inside?" No response. I slowly pulled the zipper open with one hand while gripping my flashlight tighter in the other. The inside of the tent was empty, completely empty, but the sleeping bag inside was still warm. I backed away immediately, heart pounding hard enough to hurt. Cold air moved through the trees behind me again, carrying the smell of smoke and wet dirt. Then my radio hissed loudly with static, and somebody whispered through it, "Don't turn around." I froze. Dispatch wasn't transmitting. The voice sounded distorted, male, calm, almost tired. I grabbed the radio fast. "Who's on this channel?" Nothing answered, but this time it was different. From somewhere deeper in the forest, I heard my own voice yell, "Over here." Every muscle in my body locked up instantly. It sounded exactly like me. Same tone, same rasp in my throat. The voice came from maybe 50 yards north beyond the trees. I actually took a step toward it before realizing how wrong that was. Then the voice called again. "Caleb, hurry." I never told dispatch my first name that night. My flashlight beam shook violently while I scanned the darkness between trees. The fog had thickened badly now, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. I grabbed the radio again, trying to contact base. Only static answered. That's when I noticed something worse. The campsite chair had moved. I know how insane that sounds, but when I first arrived, the chair faced the fire. Now it pointed directly toward me. I stared at it for several seconds, trying to rationalize it. Wind, maybe. Uneven ground. But deep down, I already knew that wasn't true. Then the coffee pot beside the fire started rattling softly. No flames underneath anymore, just black embers. But the water inside had begun boiling again. I stepped backward slowly, every instinct screaming at me to leave immediately. The forest suddenly felt too crowded despite nobody being visible, like something was watching carefully from beyond the fog. And then I heard footsteps. Bare feet against wet dirt, slow, circling the campsite. Not running, not hiding, just walking around me, somewhere outside the flashlight beam. One step, pause, another step. I turned constantly, trying to locate the sound, but it never stayed in one direction. The footsteps shifted positions too smoothly, like whoever made them already knew exactly where I'd look next. That's when I realized something horrifying. The footsteps matched my pace perfectly. Whenever I moved, they moved. I drew my sidearm immediately. "Show yourself," I shouted into the trees. Silence. Then a flashlight turned on deep in the woods ahead. A single white beam flickering between trees maybe 30 yards away. Relief hit me so hard I almost laughed. Finally, another ranger, lost hiker, anybody. Until the light lifted higher and illuminated my own face. The man standing there wore my ranger jacket, my patrol cap, even the same shoulder radio clipped near the collar. But something about the way he stood made my skin crawl instantly. Too stiff, too still. He smiled slowly, then switched off the flashlight. Darkness swallowed him completely. I ran back toward the trail. Branches slammed against my arms while mud soaked through my boots. I kept radioing dispatch over and over, but every response came back distorted. Sometimes I heard breathing, sometimes static. Once, I heard myself talking calmly. "He's leaving the campsite now." I nearly crashed into a tree after hearing that. The trail should have taken 15 minutes back to the Ranger Road, but after nearly half an hour of running, I still hadn't reached the truck. The woods around me started looking wrong somehow. Same broken signpost, same fallen log, same crooked pine tree split down the middle. I'd passed them 3 times already. That's when I noticed something worse. Fresh footprints appeared beside mine in the mud. Bare feet again, walking perfectly alongside me. I stopped moving immediately. So did the second set of tracks. The flashlight beam trembled across the ground while cold rain dripped through branches overhead. My breathing sounded painfully loud now. I slowly turned my head toward the trees beside the trail. Someone stood there, maybe 20 feet away, wearing my face. Except this version looked soaked completely through, pale skin stretched tight across its expressionless smile. It held a Ranger radio in one hand. My radio crackled instantly, and the thing standing in the trees spoke at the exact same time as the speaker beside my shoulder. "You left your campsite." I fired once. The gunshot exploded through the forest, sending birds screaming into the sky overhead. The figure disappeared instantly into darkness. I ran harder after that than I ever have in my life. Then suddenly, I saw headlights. My patrol truck, parked exactly where I left it near the trail entrance. Relief crashed over me so fast my knees nearly gave out. I jumped inside, locked the doors, and started the engine immediately. Rain hammered the windshield while I tried contacting dispatch again. This time somebody answered. "Unit 12, status check." Finally, a normal voice. I grabbed the mic fast. "This is Caleb Burser. I found an abandoned campsite in Sector C. I think someone's following me. Silence answered for 2 seconds. Then dispatch replied carefully. Unit 12, Caleb Mercer already checked in 40 minutes ago. My blood went cold. What? The dispatcher sounded confused now. You reported the campsite clear and returned to station. I couldn't breathe properly anymore. No, I'm still out here. Another long pause. Then I heard quiet talking in the background through dispatch radio. Muffled voices, concerned. Finally, the dispatcher came back. Unit 12, if this is a joke, stop transmitting. Then somebody else grabbed the radio. My voice, perfectly calm. He's still wandering near the campsite. The transmission cut off. At that exact moment, movement appeared outside the truck. A figure walked slowly out of the fog toward my driver's side window. Same uniform, same flashlight, same face. Mine. It leaned slightly toward the glass and tapped once. Then my own voice whispered through the radio beside me, "You're not supposed to come back twice." I slammed the truck into reverse so hard the tires spun through mud. I didn't stop driving until sunrise. When I finally reached the main ranger station, nobody believed me at first, until they checked the patrol logs. According to the system, I had already returned hours earlier. There was body cam footage too. Footage of me calmly walking into the station around 1:13 a.m., signing paperwork, talking to dispatch, smiling at the camera. The problem was, at 1:13 a.m., I was still trapped in those woods, and the man on the footage never once looked directly into the camera, because every reflective surface near him